Good evening, guys. So tonight's video is going to be completely different than anything I have ever done. I do have a website where I've shared my story and I write about it in my blogs from time to time. If you'd rather read it than listen to this, it's www.confidencecater.com. You can read my bio there, but tonight I would like to share it with you through a video. So bear with me here. I have never ever done anything like this before. So let's start from the beginning. I was a preemie, was born 8 weeks premature. I was a twin, but my twin didn't make it past the first trimester, unfortunately. I had a lot of health complications, almost died. I came in fighting when I came into this world. So made it through. I had a wonderful childhood. My parents are amazing. My dad, he worked 7 days a week when I was little. He, to this day, works 7 days a week because he is insane. But I love you very much. The hardest worker I have ever known. My mother is absolutely stunning. She is everything I could have hoped for in a mom. She stayed at home with my sister and I. My sister is 2 years older than me, and she's just also a wonderful person. I'm so blessed to be part of such a good family. Growing up, they always made sure that we were active. We were always outside. We did a lot of things together as a family. We'd go camping, on bike rides together, swimming. Every Sunday was family night, skating night, where we'd go to Skateland and skate with each other. And we had book story night and movie night. And I just had one of the greatest childhoods, and I'm just so blessed that I have the family that I do. Up until about, 5, I was kindergarten. I was entering kindergarten. That was the very first time I realized that life is not perfect. And I was sitting at story time, and this little girl was staring at my legs. And from my kneecaps up, I had these little bumps all over my legs. And she said, "Ew, what's that?" And I thought, I don't know, like, my parents think I'm perfect. Why? What are you talking about? And, you know, the longer the school year went on, the more kids noticed when it was warm out and I'd have shorts or a dress on. So I'd start to pull it down. And I started to develop this insecurity for my legs. And my mom ended up bringing me to the doctor. Turns out it was dry skin, but it had deemed me this circus freak, and people thought my legs were absolutely disgusting. So 5 years old is when I first realized that appearance matters. From there, it just got worse. My ears were severely made fun of. So being a preemie, my ears were rolled down like little crescent rolls on my face, and they were very, very thin. And my mom had to unroll them when I was born. And so the cartilage never solidified like all the other children's. They're very, very soft, and they used to stick out quite a bit. So first grade is when I first heard the word Dumbo. And I actually adored that movie as a child. I loved Dumbo, but didn't so much want to be called it. So I got called Dumbo, I got called ugly, I got called freak. I'd wear my hair down to hide my ears, and my hair is so fine and thin that they would stick out of my hair. So I got called Elf. Just completely brutal. Children are brutal and just so mean. And I would come home crying every night from school, and my mom would be up at that school as much as I was trying to fight for me. And back then, it was just kids being kids, and it was me being a crybaby, and I needed to suck it up. So that's what I did. And third grade, I ended up getting bullied by one boy in particular. I don't know why he picked on me. He used to make fun of my ears, but he targeted me bad. And this one time he stabbed me with a pencil in my leg, and the tip broke off. And my mom, of course, went up to that school, told them what's going on. Oh, they moved him to the back of the room. Well, he'd come to the front of the room. Didn't really matter. He used to wait for me outside school when school would be dismissed. I'd hide behind a bush, and I'd look for him, and I'd find my bus, and I would make a dead sprint to it, and he'd chase me. And this one time he caught me, and he put me in a headlock. And I remember trying to breathe, pulling him off me, and I was on the ground, and I don't remember what he said, but this 8-year-old boy was threatening me, and I remember him he whispered it in my ear, and he ended up letting me go, and I ran onto the bus. And again, nothing was done. I told my parents, they talked to the school, nothing ever happened. Well, this little boy ended up breaking my arm in gym class. He pushed me into a wall. He snapped both my ulna and my radius, my two biggest bones in my wrist. And I got brought to the nurse, and the nurse told me I was overreacting, and called my mother, but told my mom that I was overreacting, and she thought that I was just had a sprain. Well, guess what, lady? You were wrong. Pissed my mom off. I go to the doctor. I come back with this big red cast, and yeah, he broke my arm. Shortly after that, he disappeared because his family ended up moving, which was a godsend for me because I never had to see his face ever again. So that was nice. And then going into 4th and 5th grade, it was clear that something was wrong as far as my learning went. And I would read something, and I'd read it fine, but I had no idea what I was reading. So I would read something, and they'd say, Amanda, what was the story about? I have no idea. So I wasn't retaining what I was reading. And then during testing, I would read a question, and I would not understand what they're asking me, or I wouldn't actually retain what the question was. So I ended up getting sent to therapists and all these different people to try to diagnose me with something, whether it be ADHD or ADD. There had to be a reason for this. Well, it turns out I was fine, but I was just slower than the other children. I learned at a slower rate. Everything had to be slowed way down. And so I'd get taken out of class by a teacher in the middle of a lesson. So kids would see me, get pulled out. I went into a speech class. I had special tests where a teacher would read the question to me in the middle of the class. So kids would see this, and they started calling me stupid. And I got called retard and just you're a dummy. And it was awful. So aside from my ears sticking out, I was an idiot, and these kids all just thought I was this dumb freak. So, at 4th and 5th grade, here I am, just getting tormented by the way I look and my intelligence. And I was, when I was diagnosed with this learning disability, they told me to start writing in a journal, because maybe writing out my own stuff would help me know what I'm writing about. It was a good exercise to write and then read back what I wrote. And so I started journaling, which actually helped a lot when I was getting bullied, because I would write down my stories and just be able to release, all this built up tension that was going on. In one of my writings, it was 5th grade, 10 years old. It was the very first time that I remember that I thought of disappearing. And I don't mean that I didn't think of suicide, because I don't think I really understood suicide. But I remember I was a very spiritual little girl. I remember laying in bed at night and crying. And I had written about whatever happened that day. And I remember asking God, why am I here? Why did you make me? I don't want to be here anymore. I want to disappear. I wish I was never born. And I just would sob into my pillow and ask myself these things at 10 years old. 10 years old. And then, I got to leave that school and go into middle school for 6th grade. Worst years ever. Middle school sucks because everybody is growing and maturing, and our bodies are changing, and things just are awful. Girls get into makeup, and looks seriously matter in middle school. If you don't have looks and style, you are screwed. Well, the minute I entered that school, I was screwed because my ears were not exactly the best accessory to have. So I got made fun of horribly in 6th grade. I was still in help classes. It was just a nightmare and awful. And I kind of black everything out from that. Except one thing, I did get made fun of during a test time. A little girl pulled her ears out and was like, "Who am I?" And the whole class started laughing during their test, and this little girl didn't get in trouble. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here crying, thinking how humiliating, and all the teacher said was, "Settle down, class." And so things like that actually did happen quite a bit, and it was just awful. Just every time I got made fun of or a comment was made, my confidence level just went this much lower. And to the point where I absolutely hated myself completely. So 7th grade, I decided, I'm gonna try to get out of my comfort zone and maybe join something. So I joined track, and I really liked discus. It was really calling to me. So and I was pretty good at it. So I joined discus, and we had to run to warm up and stuff. And again, because I was a preemie, I had hip development issues. So I kind of galloped. I never knew really how to run correctly. I would get these sharp pains in my hips, and so that's why I would gallop. So 7th grade, I also ran ridiculous. I looked kind of special when I ran. And through exercise, took me a while, but I finally got to where I was running normal, and I was pretty darn good at discus. So 7th grade was a year of where I evolved a little bit more. And then in 8th grade, I was still in discus and track, and I started to get really tired, and my throat looked kind of big, and my hair was falling out, and I was getting chubby. And I went to the doctor, and I found out that I had Hashimoto's autoimmune disorder, which is very similar to hypothyroidism. It's kind of the pre-disease and before you get that. And so they're very similar. All the symptoms are the same. And to this day, I still have to get my thyroid tested. But my levels, I have managed to get back into range through holistic medicines, thanks to my mother. So yeah, I still struggle with that, but we ended up finding a way around it without me being on a pill forever. So that was pretty awesome. 8th grade was a pretty good year towards the end, because towards the end, my mom decided she was done crying and seeing her baby cry. So she said, "I think it's time you get plastic surgery." And I agreed. It was the day after 8th grade ended that I went to the doctor full speed, and I got my ears pinned back. And I spent the entire summer before freshman year healing, and had this giant, massive head wrap thing where you could just see my face. And I entered high school with confidence because these darn things were finally stuck back, and I felt beautiful for the very first time ever. Well, going into high school, some of the same dummies who made fun of me for my ears continued to make fun of me for my ears. So I think over time, it didn't matter what I did, I was still going to be Dumbo because that was what I was titled for so long. So I still had a few comments, but definitely less than I had before. Going into high school with this confidence, I thought, I'm going to join the discus team in high school, which was a pretty big deal for me. And then I thought, I'm going to join Color Guard. And Color Guard are the flag people in the marching band. And my older sister was a drummer. And the drummers in the band were actually pretty badass. Everyone looked up to them. They were like the cool kids of the band because they were just cool. That's just what people thought, I guess. So I thought I'd do Color Guard, and I would be titled and kind of up there with like cheerleader. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. It deemed me a nerd and pretty much a wannabe. Me and my bestie, we were cheerleaders together for the band. We were titled Flaggets and Retarded Cheerleaders. So yay us. We stuck together through all 4 years and rocked it, but we were never popular, and we were like these band geeks, which, okay. So we didn't win with that. I strived throughout high school to be popular, and it was in my freshman year. It was the homecoming football game. I got invited to go back to a girl's house that was kind of in with the popular crowd. And I thought, hell yes, let's go. This is my time. and we go to this party, and I was introduced to Crown Royal, and I had a Crown Royal, Crown Coke, and I had beer, and I started to feel funny, and I thought, holy crap, this stuff's amazing, you know. All of a sudden, I didn't care what anybody thought of me, and I'm talking to everybody. I'm on the floor, and I am feeling happy around these people that intimidated me for so long. I think I even stole one of the football people's jerseys and I put it on, which is something I never, ever would have done. So I thought, oh my gosh, this stuff's amazing. You know, I had seen my parents drink it here and there, but I never had like experienced this. And I was 14, my first drink, and it hooked me. I kind of thought, this is what I need in life. So I kind of went through parties. I went to parties throughout high school, and I would drink and hide it from my parents. And I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, those were some bad times. I understand. I'm most sorry for my junior year. Junior year, 16-year-old girl. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. I kind of weaseled my way into the cool crowd a little bit. I was never one of them, but I kind of weaseled in there. And my junior year, I ended up being on the top 10 homecoming queen list. That's as high as I ever made it, top 10, but that was freaking amazing to me because I thought, holy crap, finally, people like me, I'm accepted, I'm part of them, you know. And yeah, that gave me a little bit of a confidence boost, I guess. Again, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, I put my parents through hell. That was a bad year for them. So 12th grade, I have this confidence from my junior year still, and I end up saying, I'm going to start being a hip hop dancer because I'm cool. And worst decision ever. I looked so dumb. It was terrible. I mean, good for me for going and trying, but I did it for all the wrong reasons. I did it to be cool, and I was anything but cool. The videos should be absolutely burned. But with hip hop, I thought, I want to be a model. So I signed up for a 2-year modeling contract with a local agency, and I had to take courses in acting and runway, and I actually had to do a monologue in front of a big crowd, and I had to really get out of my shell. And so I kind of started to with this, and I started to gain this confidence, and it was amazing. And that was up until I finally got one of my first casts in a fashion show. And my instructor came up to me and said, I want you to be cast as the playmate at this upcoming fashion show in a week. Parents were not too thrilled, but they went in and talked to the instructor. She assured them that it was safe. I was going to be fully clothed. If you want to consider a leotard fully clothed, then cool. But, so yeah, I was in this little leotard. I'm 17. I have little bunny ears on. I'm feeling hot. I'm feeling like, yeah. Well, she comes up to me the week before and says, Amanda, you're looking a little chubby. Maybe think about dropping 10 pounds in a week. Yeah. So I did. I ended up drinking juice and I ate crackers. And I ended up getting so thin, I felt horrible, and I ended up doing this show, which wasn't even that great, and I ended up quitting a year before my contract was up because I figured, you know, this isn't me. I don't want to be told I'm fat, and I don't want to not eat because I love food, and I still love food, and it just wasn't for me, so I quit. Again, at that point, confidence back in the dirt. So, from there, I'm back at bottom here, and all the stuff from my previous years of school and stuff was still in there. I still held it and submerged it, and it's coming back now at this point. So I graduate high school. I enroll at University of Omaha, and I enroll in their nursing program. I had always wanted to help people. I've always been a helper. I wanted to heal people, and it was just really hard because, again, I wasn't that book smart, and so I struggled my ass off in college. I would study hours and hours, and I just couldn't do it, and that made me feel stupid, and it brought back all the memories again of being stupid. And what did I do to cope? Drank alcohol. You got it. So I started to party more and make very bad decisions. I started to put on weight. I ate fast food like 2 to 3 times a week. Everything I ate was frozen out of a box if it wasn't fast food, and then I drank a ton on top of it. So yeah, that was when I started to put on weight, and I had a few bad relationships and some bad relationships and or I said relationships, friendships, and there was comments made like, oh, you know, you're putting on some weight, and oh, you don't really look like you used to do, and oh my gosh. And so I was at the heaviest weight I had ever been at, which was never overweight, but it was a little thicker for my body frame. And that resulted in me completely starting to question my actual body. So what I would do is I would get to a point of depression where I'd be like, screw this. What's the point in even trying to be healthy? And I would go and eat 14 cheeseburgers. Okay, maybe not 14, but I'd have 3. I'd have 3 to 4 cheeseburgers, and I'd say, screw it, I don't care. And then after I eat them, I'd feel this guilt. And I would go puke them up. And I thought that was my answer. Puke them up. You know, eat whatever you want, puke it up. So I wasn't a full-blown bulimic. I wasn't throwing everything up that I ate. It was here and there, and it was when it was bad. So fast food, if I binged on ice cream, it was whenever I would emotionally eat something terrible and overeat, I would go and puke it up. That lasted for a couple of years. I did it on and off. Nobody ever knew. And then aside from that, with my drinking, I'd get to a point where I was so drunk and sad that I would start bawling. And all I could feel, it's like once you got to that certain point of drunk, all you could feel, it quit numbing you, and all you could think about, you would stew and all that internal hurt. And you get to a point where you might not know it because you're drunk, but it's eating you. You feel like you're internally dying, and it's horrible. And so I started to think, what can I do to stop this? So I would carve into my arm. And again, this was only when I was really, really drunk and really, really sad. And nobody ever would know because I'd always pull my sleeves down. And my family never ever found out. I don't think they ever knew that I did this until a year or 2 ago. But I would carve into my arm over and over and over and over and do it until it bled, because I wanted to feel that. And being so drunk, you couldn't feel anything, you know, because you're drunk. So I would be doing this until I could feel physical pain to cancel out the emotional pain I was feeling. I mean, completely self-destructive, completely wrong. But this is how I was thinking at that point. This is what I thought. So, yeah, so I did that. That lasted a couple years as well. The bulimia and the cutting kind of was within the same time frame. Eventually, after 2 years of the university, I dropped out and I ended up enrolling in a hair school. It was the very first time that I actually could fill out a test and know what I was talking about. Everything, I knew it. Everything clicked. Anything that had to do with hair, chemicals, skin, I knew it. And when I enrolled in hair school, I was top of my class, and it just clicked. I knew updos, I knew color, I knew haircuts. I just was awesome at it, and it was because I would learn with my hands. And when I did it, I rocked it. When I did it, I would learn it, I would keep it in there, and I just kept getting better and better. And that was a confidence boost that helped, but I continued to party because I still didn't know how to deal with all of these years of past depression and anger and sadness. I still had that in me. And so I'd still drink. Even in hair school, I was drinking. Out of hair school, I was drinking. I continued to do this. My poor family, there's multiple times I would not talk to them for days, and they'd be thinking I was dead. I've gone home with strangers that I have no idea who they are. Not to sleep with. I just have gone to people's houses that I didn't know. I hitchhiked before. Gosh, what else? I've sideswiped a Burger King in my car because I was drunk driving, which I did often. Very ashamed to even say that, but I did it. And I wrecked my car by hitting somebody drunk in a parking lot. I backed into somebody's car and they got my plate. Gosh, what else? I don't know. There was a lot of bad decisions, and there's multiple times that I should have died. Multiple. And I should have at least 12 DUIs that I don't. So I really, really lucked out. And, but I continued to do these things. It wasn't until I had my wake-up call. My wake-up call was, let's see this year it is. 5 years ago. 5 years ago? Yeah. 5 years ago, Memorial weekend. I was drinking, partying over Memorial weekend. I was talking to somebody at the time. We weren't together, but we were talking. We were interested in each other and sort of dating. And, but we weren't exclusive, and we got in a fight. And he ended up falling asleep. And I blacked out after that point. I don't remember any of this. The next thing I know, I wake up and I am in a bed and I'm looking around and I have no idea where I'm at. Black liquid surrounds me laying down. And I'm like, what is that? And I look down and I'm completely naked. Oh my God, why am I naked? I look next to me. The boyfriend I had been broken up with for months is next to me. I don't remember a blink of it. Not a blink. I end up realizing like, oh, we had sex. I don't remember any of it. I don't remember leaving with him. I don't remember talking to him. And the black stuff around my head was vomit. And it was black because I had been drinking a black licorice liqueur, Jägermeister. And I had puked in my sleep. Again, I don't remember. And this is so hard to share, especially for family maybe watching this, or people that know me now but didn't know me back then. It's really hard to share this because I've never openly talked about it before. It's very, very embarrassing that a person, me, did any of these things. And I was just so messed up. I was so emotionally broken. I was a broken person. And this part of the story is so vital because this was the turning point in my entire life. This was the pivot. And I realized, what are you doing, Amanda? What the hell are you doing? You could have died. You could have been raped. What are you doing? And what, not fair to the guy that you were talking to. I never agreed to cheating. Again, me and that other person were not exclusive, but we were interested. I would have never done anything like that to somebody. That is just bottom of the bucket to me. That, all of that mixed together just made me think, like, is this who you want to be? No, that is not who I want to be. I didn't want to keep doing this and in 10 years be in that same spot, just a hot mess, just a mess of a human being. And the first thing I did after that turning point, I went home and I ended up calling the man that I had been seeing, and I told him what happened. And he said, I will never be with somebody who is doing this. I can't be with somebody who is so self-destructive, who's going to drink to the point where they don't know what they're doing. And I ended up telling him that I would be sober for a whole year. And shortly after that, ironically enough, I did find out that he had some of his own issues with certain addictions, and of course we did not work out, but I continued hard with my year goal of sobriety, and I did it for myself. And all my friends at the time thought, you are never going to do this, because multiple times I said I was going to become dry for a year, and I'd make a month and I'd fall off the wagon. Well, I was serious this time, and I lost all of my friends, all but a few. And you know who you are, because you're still my very good friends today, so I love you guys very much. But I lost all my other friends, and I started to realize who was real and who wasn't. And I started to have to realize how to actually feel feelings, because I would numb anything negative. And so I had to figure out how to feel sorrow and deal with it, how to feel anger and deal with it. And instead of doing it by cutting myself, puking, drinking till I couldn't feel anymore, I had to figure out, how do I get this out of me healthily? How do I do it in a healthy way? And this is when fitness was brought back into my life. Like I said, I had grown up my whole life with it kind of in my life, kind of around me. And this is when I thought, girl, what you were meant to do. So I got into weightlifting, and all my rage and anger and sadness and everything that was just negative, I put into my workouts. I put them into the weights. And I just remember pumping out. And I remember in the beginning, I remember just tears streaming down my face at the gym, because I was so angry, and it was releasing all this stuff. You know, no matter what I was doing, I was releasing all this rage. And it felt so good. It felt so good. And then I started to eat healthy, and I realized that internally I'm cleansing myself internally, and I'm releasing all this negative, and I'm releasing all the junk that's been in my body for so long. I just was poisoning myself with substance and thoughts. And I started to feel amazing. And I just blossomed. And I ended up, in that year, I ended up meeting my husband, who, I just love you so much, babe. And he was the very first person to ever see the real me. And I didn't have to hide who I was around him. And so, whoops, we're out of focus. There we go. Whew. So I didn't have to hide who I was, and you know what? He loved me for the real me. It was absolutely amazing. And over time, I've just realized how beneficial this life can be. And even though I reached my goal of sobriety, then I made new goals. And I keep making new goals. And the sky's the limit. You meet a goal, you keep going, and you keep reaching, because you're amazing and you can do it. And it took me years to realize why I let all these people get to me, and why I didn't think I could keep going. And the reason was because I put my worth into everybody else's opinions. So that is just such a horrible way to think. Anybody else's opinion of you, whether it be a boss, a teacher, sibling, parent, whoever, if it's negative, sorry, I have a cold. My nose keeps running. If it's negative and putting you down, it is not a reflection on your character, your appearance, anything about you. It has nothing to do with you. It is a reflection on that person. And I know people don't believe it when everyone's like, oh, whatever people say, it's just how they feel about themselves. Well, it's true. And once you realize that, you quit letting negativities from the outside and from other people affect you. Because when you gain confidence and love for who you are, and you know that you're a freaking badass, awesome person, you won't believe anything less. So when I met my husband, I started to believe this about myself, and he saw it and he knows it, and he helped. But going into that relationship, or into our relationship in the beginning, I went into it knowing like I'm freaking awesome. And it's just, oh, it's just so amazing. And now I've been practicing inner peace, and I do yoga, and I'm really getting like spiritual and getting in touch with myself nowadays. And oh, it's just so freeing. I don't even know who that person used to be years ago who was just such a self-destructive mess. I'm just full of happiness and love, and I love who I am. And that is why fitness and wellness and health and everything, why I'm so passionate about it. Literally, it saved my life. Saved me, because I would be dead right now if it weren't for health and fitness. And I want to help anybody who might be in the same place I was, or even somebody who needs help losing weight, or you just need to mentally heal. I want to help heal you, because I know that you're amazing. And I know everyone is capable of doing real amazing things and loving who they are, because everybody is so special in their own way. They just sometimes get clouded by other people's opinions of them, and they're just not true, and it eats away at you. And my passion is just to help people grow and see all that they're capable of. And that's why I have decided to be a coach, because this allows me and gives me the tools I need to do that for others. And it's just one of the most rewarding things that I've ever been blessed with in my life. So I really hope sharing my story was not a bore, and that maybe you got something from it, or maybe you feel like you know me a little bit more, or you have a more better understanding of why I am so passionate about everything that has to do with fitness. And thank you for watching, and you now know the story of me.